Look at that. No dents. Venting really didn't make a difference in the equation. You're about to see a real faulty mold. Y'all know it's a good day when we've got our favorite German beer. Oktoberfest is coming soon. And a little bit of bait making. I'm ready. Okay. Hear me out, hear me out. There's a little bit of fall in the air. Oh, means I need to get in the boat soon. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the World's Worst Fishing. I'm your host, Chris Jones. And today's video is going to be a very, I don't want to say scientific, right? But it's going to be a very sort of educational and experimental video taking a deep dive into the injection process for soft plastic fishing lures. And one of the most common issues, I won't really call it a problem, more just an abnormality, more than an actual problem, right? You know, a problem with the bait in my mind is, you know, your bait comes out and there's some issue with it that prevents it from being a functional bait. Most of the time, denting is actually completely benign. But however, it is a very common thing in the injection process. And so today we're going to be looking at what denting is, why it happens, why it does not happen, and what you can do to solve denting issues at home with your own soft plastic bait making, with your own molds, your own injectors, the whole thing. And what's really cool about today's video is that Josh at AI Molds, right there and there, he has machined 2-piece unique molds to demonstrate this anomaly. We have basically 2 core shot stick bait molds, and they are very unique for this video. Okay, I'll apologize in advance for all the laundry noise that's about to happen. Yep, the washer just kicked on. Okay, well maybe that's not so bad. But it wouldn't be World's Worst Fishing without laundry noise. So, for today's demonstration, Josh has gone to the trouble of cutting 2-piece unique molds, okay? And this is sort of a collaboration with AI because we want to help get correct information out to bait makers so that they have the knowledge and tools necessary to get the best possible performance out of their molds and out of their baits. And solving denting is part of that, okay? So, if we look closely, you might notice some differences, okay? Mold over here, this one is not vented hardly at all, okay? There are no vents around the runner, around the gates, around the entire length of the cavity. The only vents are right there at the end of the cavity. Meanwhile, this mold is vented everywhere. And the reason why we're talking about vents is because there's a very common misconception in the soft bait, garage bait maker universe is that baits and molds will have dents in the baits because of poor venting or poor mold design, and that the mold wasn't made properly, when in fact denting has nothing to do with venting. Hopefully I don't mix those 2 words up today because I'm gonna have to say dent and vent a lot. But basically this one is vented everywhere. It's vented out the back of the core shot rods. The entire surface of even the runner has vent grooves, and the entire length of every cavity on every side is vented. It is vented from the gate all the way back to the end and vented out the back. You cannot add more vents for air release into this mold than this one is right here. And so the reason for the 2 extremes is basically to demonstrate that, look, denting is a thermal issue. It's a temperature differential between the hot plastic going in and the surface of the mold. You have shrinkage, right? When things cool, they shrink, okay? And so denting is basically a thermal problem. And so what we're going to do is we're going to show you, right, that a mold that has the least amount of vents possible, right, we can shoot this one without any dents. On the flip side, a mold that is vented every which way that you can do it, we will show you that without proper injection processes, we can get this one to dent. Just so happens we have a brand new, never before opened bucket of swim bait, jerk bait plastic, which is perfect for stick worms because this is the sinking plastic. So you don't have to add a sinking additive to it like salt. You know, generally speaking, if you're trying to match that good old Cinco feel, yeah, you want to add some sort of sinking additive to it. But in terms of durometer, straight down the middle. I don't like to use super soft plastic, at least not for my stick worms at home. But for today's demonstration, we're going to be using the plastic that I would normally use if I were making sticks for myself. And we're going to go from there. Oh, you know what? Let's give it a mix. This is always so much fun to see. Is a bucket that's never been stirred since it came out of the drum, brought back to life. Look at this. Here it comes. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Alright, so we got the core shot rods in, and we're going to shoot the one. This is the one that is vented, so I kind of have them labeled vent, no vents. Alright. And this is going to be sort of round one, okay? So we're going to go ahead and mix up a color, and then we're going to run this mold, okay? And we're going to use sort of improper injection processes. And by that, I mean we're going to inject the plastic very hot into a room temperature mold, which is known as cold mold. We're not going to hold pressure, and generally, that's how you run into problems. Alright, sorry for the laundry noise. That's just how it goes around here. So yeah, a little bit of green pumpkin. Alright, this is just green pumpkin 109. We're just going to keep it simple. Green pumpkin is just one of the all-time great colors. So yeah, that's green pumpkin 109 base. We'll probably add a drop or two of black. And, oh, I don't know, a little bit of black flake, which is right here. Go ahead and drop that in. Yeah, we'll be good. Alright, so yeah, just a quick little color here. This video is not really about color or layering or pattern matching. You know, this is all about dents and injection. Okay, here we go. Super hot plastic. This is probably in the 370-degree range. And we're going to inject fast and not hold any pressure. Alright, generally speaking, that is a recipe for injection problems. Right? Very rarely do you have a mold where hot and fast is best. You know, certain panfish molds, like the little tube mold, you kind of got to go hot and fast. Certain molds with like a lot of appendages, like the ecto craw, you definitely want to shoot it pretty hard and fast. But generally speaking, slow, steady, hold pressure with cold plastic is the path to least resistance when it comes to injection problems. Okay, so here are the shells, and this one in particular dented up. Okay, so if we look, oh come on, focus right. Golly, now I can't get it to focus. Right there. Okay. You can see, right? You can see kind of that kind of depression there, right? That is a dent. You can see it real good when we move it, okay? And not every cavity dents every time, but this is what I mean whenever I say dents. Yeah, there's another one right there, okay? Got a little air pocket there. But those are dents, okay? That's what we mean by dents, all right? So, you know, and obviously, you know, the core shot is just one example. I will be bringing another mold in later in the video to show dents. That is a more traditional style mold. But for the example, I have these two, you know, kind of unique molds, all right? So those are what I mean by dents, all right? Oops. And that mold was as vented as humanly possible, okay? So now what we're going to do is we're going to do the same test over in the mold that does not have all of the vents, okay? And I assume we will get a few dents here and there as well to sort of just show, hey, vents are not the issue. All right, and then we'll move on. All right, here we go. All right. And there it is. All right, and next up, the no vent mold. Crap. I've got so much oil on my hands that my, yeah, you can see that's coming off. And I can't get a grip to open the mold. You have to lubricate the core rods. Okay. Oh yeah, Dent City, look at this. All right. Yep, so a lot like, yeah, you can see that one real good. Yeah, the other ones aren't too bad. See, in these little air pockets, that's just from me injecting fast, you know, so that's sort of another little symptom of poor injection is, you know, you can trap air. Some of that is because the core rods are in, which kind of can create issues. But yeah, here's probably the best example of a dent. You know, this is a more severe one that you'll see right there. You know, you usually don't find them worse than that, you know, so you can see that one. There's one right here on this one. You can see it there. You know, so really similar to how the first one dented. So yeah, those look like the only two examples. So again, it's not every cavity, you know, that's going to do it. But you know, you can see that these two dented up. All right, here we go. So plastic. 320 degrees or less, all right? And the key is slow injection, slow. Barely push it. All right, and then we're gonna hold pressure. So we are holding a good amount of force down on the injector, and we're just gonna hold. All right. And, you know, generally speaking, this is how you kind of want to inject every mold, right? Even if it's not a problematic mold. Like, there are some molds that inject perfect. Tracer shad, the AI lizard, the kicker tail worm, my old bass tackle, ribbon tail worms. Like, you cannot break them. But, you know, it's still good practice to have good practice. All right. And here is the one that we just did. All right. Let's kind of open it up. Okay, this one's going to open up. This one's going to open up. Easy on me there. Ha, look at that. Okay, all right. Look at that. No dents. Certainly nothing like we saw earlier. Right, you know, like we would see, you know, those depressions. No, all those look really, really good. We'll go ahead and take them out and just kind of look at the other side. Yeah. Maybe a slight one right there. You can see maybe it's just ever so slightly not perfectly round. It kind of depressed in right there. But as you can see, night and day results, okay? Absolutely perfect. All right. Yeah. All right. Now, the ultimate test, right, is going to be this one. Okay, here comes no vent. All right. Again, cold plastic, and don't get in a hurry. All right, we're going to shoot slow. Just like before. All right. And then hold pressure. We're not going to cut the camera. We're just going to kind of let you see this in real time. And then after this demonstration, we're going to go pull out a mold that thousands of you at home have. A mold in production right now that you can buy right now that I personally get dents with pretty often. So we're going to shoot it. We're going to show you a dent. And then I'm going to also demonstrate how to shoot it without dents. All right, and here's the one I've been looking forward to the most. Is taking a mold that is vented about as poorly as possible with core shots that only can make matters worse because that's another surface that's going to cool the plastic inside the cavity, and the faster plastic cools, the more it's going to shrink, right? Which is why you get those dents. All right? So yeah, I've been looking forward to trying to get this one right here not to dent. Drum roll, please. Let's see how we did. Fingers are a little oily. Yeah. Nice. Okay. Yeah, that one came out, came apart nice and easy. Yep. And again, this is the no vent mold, and look at that. Look at that. Maybe, yeah, a little one right there. Yep. One little one right there, but otherwise, you can see, boom. Looking great. Looking absolutely great. So we'll take one out. Take one down, pass it around. 99 core shot shells on the wall. I was never a good singer, y'all. Yeah, there it is. Cool. Yeah, looks like we only had slight denting on one cavity. Yep. So as you can see, there are things that you can do to minimize denting, even in the worst possible injection conditions, which is minimal venting, vented as poorly as possible, with the rods in, which create even more possible dents because of that extra surface. And you can see we can have amazing results. Okay, so far we've been able to successfully get an extremely well vented, and by extremely I mean 100% of all surfaces. We've been able to get the most vented mold to dent, and then one that is vented about as poorly, like no mold maker should ever do anything like that. So we've been able to I can't talk. We've been able to successfully get both of those to dent, and successfully get both of those not to dent, or with extremely minimal denting. Okay, so we've taken that mold that has the worst venting possible, and with core shot rods. And I would say, look, we only had that one small dent down there in that bottom cavity. Other than that, 90% perfect, and the one before it was virtually flawless. So you can kind of see the distinction, right? The two extremes. Venting really didn't make a difference in the equation. I think often what happens is bait makers will buy a mold, with whatever mold, and they will maybe get some dent problems with it, and so they'll seek help. They'll post on one of the Facebook groups or something. Hey, I'm having trouble with this mold denting. Can anybody recommend how I can solve that problem? And you get a lot of people going in there and they attack the mold rather than coach the user on proper injection, right? There's sort of this stigma out there that any mold that has to be preheated in order to inject properly without dents and fill all the, and fill every little, extremity is somehow not a good mold, or it's made wrong, or it's faulty. No mold should ever have to be preheated. That's just simply not good advice. Some molds, depending on the complexity of the shape of the cavity, sometimes even depending on orientation, shoot better hot. Once you get a few shots in them, they shoot better. All those little appendages feel better. In the case of denting, denting again is a temperature differential. It has nothing to do with vents or air being trapped, or the mold not made right, or the gates not being wide enough. There's a lot of bad actors out there giving bad advice, and I think some of them use people's dent problems to try to attack the mold maker. And to me, that just doesn't serve any good purpose. It's bad information, and ultimately it does not help the person who made the post to begin with, who's having problems. So with that said, we're now going to break out a mold that I've had a long time, and this is a mold that thousands of you have, and I do get some denting with it. Stinger mold. Alright, so I have the stinger molds here gripped up, clamped up, ready to go. And we're going to use a really fun color, dead on plastic Smashberry. Really beautiful color. It's in their Morph series. And for this demonstration, we're not going to sort of purposely try to get it to dent. You know, I'm not going to shoot the plastic at 380 and shoot it really fast and hold no pressure. We're just going to kind of shoot it normally, right? Just kind of like I normally would. Not too worried about it, but also not with preventing dents in mind, because I don't want the demonstration to only be, well, we tried to get it to dent and look, we have dents. Well, that's not how you're normally going to do things at home. So this one will be shooting it normally, like I normally would, carefree, not too worried about it. And if we get some dents, which I suspect I will, we will then come back and show you how I can make this not dent. Okay, so let's take a look here, and yeah, what a cool color, right? You sort of get two shades of purple. You sort of get this kind of more brown shade, and then a more traditional shade. So if we look at those, none of those dented, right? You can see the bodies look really good. However, on the next mold, do you see the dents? All right, let's take a look a little bit closer. Right there and right there. You can kind of see there's some anomalies right there in the body. Real faint, okay? This is more normal denting, right? If you remember earlier, I said denting is usually benign. That's not going to affect the bait at all. You can see this cavity did not dent. Filled in perfect. We just look at it from multiple angles, right? And then these two, you can clearly see that there's an anomaly here. That's your dent. Okay, same with this one. You can see this one over here had a more severe dent, but those two look great. Okay, so that's how you kind of diagnose a dent, say on a creature bait mold like this. Okay, all right. So there again, it's not a huge problem with the bait, but it is noticeable, and a lot of people don't take kindly to it, and they think that they're necessarily doing something wrong. You know, like they'll be like, oh, I can't get the mold to work right, the mold's not working right. No, the mold's working just fine. You know, this is just a symptom of the injection process, and you know, the way you solve it is how we demonstrated earlier. Okay, so here is round 2. All right, first one looking good, second one looking good, third one looking good. So at first glance you might think, hey, every one of them came out perfect. I don't see a single dent, at least on this side, right? You know, like we can always flip them over and see if any of the other sides had a problem. This one right here has the slightest little one right there that honestly you wouldn't even see if you were not looking for it. So we definitely had, I think, much better success across the board. Just taking our time, just putting some thought into it, just taking it slow. Shoot your plastic cold, shoot it slow, hold pressure, and that generally is how you get rid of this stuff. And so, you know, the whole point is to show you even some of the best, most tried and true molds, you can dent them, as we saw, right? And that is not because it's a faulty mold, right? Like this mold is one of the longest standing, most successful molds in the industry. That's just how it goes sometimes, and there are very simple ways to troubleshoot it. Alright, as promised, now we're going to show you a mold that actually is faulty. We're going to show you what the symptoms are of a mold that is not vented properly, that truly traps air, that never actually hits the surface of the inside of the mold. It creates a true divot, not a dent, and we're going to show you that difference right now. This is an example of a mold that needed to go back to the drawing board. Not a good mold that can occasionally dent. Big difference in the two. Don't let people tell you that a mold that can dent is somehow faulty. You're about to see a real faulty mold. Right there. You can see it. See that? That is a true dimple. Right, see how shiny? Oops, sorry. Trying to get this in focus. Yeah. See how it kind of looks glossy on the inside? It's because the plastic never actually touched the surface of the mold because air was trapped there. And you can see other little dimples all over these things. Right, you can see little ones here, there, and everywhere. Absolutely awful. look at how bad the tops of it do. Oops. Yeah, see that? See how it just straight up does not fill in? Right? That just straight up did not fill in all the way. and it virtually does that for every single gate. Yep. Yep, you can see the bottom is a mess, dimples everywhere. Yep, you can see it just didn't fill in. Those two little notches back there. Right, that's where plastic didn't fill in. You know, you can see the nose is just an absolute mess. That should be filled in. Absolute mess. Here's another example of the nose just not filling in. Oops. Look at that mess. Look at that. So yeah, this is what happens when a mold is faulty and made poorly, not vented. That is what faulty mold looks like. If somebody comes to me and shows me pictures of this, something like this, and says, what am I doing wrong? I'm going to tell them, you're not doing anything wrong. It's the mold. Well, all right, everybody. That was quite a journey. Like I said at the beginning, we're taking a deep dive into the injection process, sort of the theory behind dents, what causes them, what doesn't cause them, how to fix them, the whole 9 yards. So yeah, there was a lot of information in this video, but I hope it definitely helps somebody at home. And you know, and I hope it kind of dispels a few myths, you know, because unfortunately misinformation, you know, is out there in the bait sphere. You know, like this isn't the political arena or, you know, some supercharged, you know, sort of topic. No, this is bait making, but still there are bad actors. And, you know, hopefully this helps some of you at home who may have received bad information in the past or might receive it in the future. So, you know, if you're having denting problems, you know, here's a good video to come back to. And I think it's going to help solve, you know, most problems. Yeah, so with that said, some really exciting stuff coming. There is a new mold, an entire new concept coming from AI soon that I cannot divulge, but I personally am very excited about it. Yeah, there's always some fun, exciting things on the horizon. I absolutely have the best sponsors in the world. I could not make this happen without the support of AI Molds and Dead on Plastic. So shout out to those two brands for always you know, keeping me relevant and allowing me to showcase their products and sort of be their spokesperson. So we will continue to do that, and we'll see you in the next video.